Welcome back to the AfterWord. This podcast exists. Welcome back. You keep doing this. To me, is this sort of like From the Loft? It's
I like to interrupt right in the very beginning. Get it all out of my system.
You want people to know you're here. It's
Yes.
great. You don't get it out of your system though. But anyway,
what if people are listening like to 3 or 4 episodes in a row?
Well, then they're getting
welcome.
They're getting welcomed back a lot.
Okay.
You know, I want them to feel welcome.
We got a new to us car, and every time we start it, a little thing pops up that it says "Welcome back." I'm like, that's really kind.
That's really sweet.
Thank you.
That's sweet. Our microwave, when it gets to the end, it doesn't say done. It says your food is ready. And I think that's a little presumptuous. It doesn't know that. Anyway.
All right, but go. Let's start again.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Anyway, welcome back to the AfterWord. We are here to look back at the scripture from the sermon that was preached just prior to this in hopes of growing our love for God and for neighbor. And so I'm Rex. I'm sitting here with Kirsten. As you know, I'm here with Vince. And we also have Betty on the horn, as they say. She's on the horn and the ones and twos.
Who says this?
I don't know.
They do. They
say that. So, but yeah, yesterday we looked at Luke 2, 1 through 21, which is a very familiar story. It is typically the Christmas story. But let me read this for us, and we're going to ask the same 3 questions we do every week. Is there any context that we see here, or what did we notice as we went through the text? I guess that's different from other times we've been through it. Second, what is God like according to this text? And then third, what does this mean for right now? What does this mean for now? How do we put feet to these things that we're seeing and hearing? So let me read.
Are we just doing the intro question at the end this time?
Shoot. Guys, I'm so rusty. I have an intro question that we're going to do at the beginning.
Hey, welcome back, Rex.
This is my 3rd or 4th time doing this. Anyway, the intro question.
Still on a trial period.
I know. Yeah, we'll see. The return policy is still there. I have an intro question for us. We're getting to know each other. The Winter Olympics are on right now. If you were going to be forced to take part in an Olympic sport at your current level of fitness around whatever, what would it be?
I'm a pretty cautious person in these spaces, so I would either do the giant slalom, but I would probably just like zigzag my way across, so it would be real slow and awesome
all the way down.
I wouldn't have to pizza, but I could probably just take it nice and slow, or I'd do the bobsled, but I would utilize the brake a lot. So
that's nice. Yeah, with the bobsled, there's a lot of people in there, so really you could just
be the middle guy.
Hop in.
I wouldn't want to go fast though. Like
there.
I would have to have control of the brake.
Okay.
So
sounds good.
Yeah.
I mean, I would also maybe say bobsled. We were practicing that at youth group yesterday. So I feel like I'm ready. Or I would do figure skating because I can skate backward. So therefore, I think I'd be good. I don't know how to stop, but I can skate backward.
If you make it look like it's on purpose, I think you'd be fine.
You just flail your arms a lot and make it look beautiful as you don't stop.
I do like one random spin. And
from what I understand, it's mostly about the outfit when it comes to figure skating. So
I got this one then.
Oh, what would you wear?
Something
a Bucky's costume.
Her hot dog costume, obviously.
That's right, my hot dog costume with throw up on it.
That'd be amazing.
I do the biathlon.
Yeah?
Yeah. What greater sport than just do some skiing and then stop and shoot things?
Yeah, that is pretty nice.
But you hate skiing. You can't ski.
And I'm not a great shot.
This really isn't about doing well. It's just what would you enjoy doing?
Yeah.
But you hate skiing. You would just...
It's cross-country skiing.
You would be the substitute
Which
shooter.
is like skiing, but worse.
You would have somebody ski up to you, and then you would just shoot. And
designated
then send them
shooter.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I think I would... I mean, it's between curling and the skeleton luge. Curling is like... No one understands how it works anyway. Yep. Skeleton luge, I think it was Seinfeld, said that you could be good at it and not have any idea what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You just hold on for dear life, and there you go. I will say, I really... Sorry, I'm getting off. I don't like the figure skating or the gymnastics parts of the Olympics, and it's because someone else has to tell me who won. Yep. Like, if it's a race... Or if it's like, how far can you throw this thing? Yeah. How quickly can you do this? How many of these things can you do? I'm in. But if it's like, has to go to some experts to tell me that someone else won, I'm not that into it.
That's fair. I mean, it's subjective on those ones.
Yeah.
I did see someone post today though. Have you ever wondered how quickly people who do the how quickly curlers vacuum their house? And I thought that was funny to think about.
Spotless floors. All right. Well, anyway, the main purpose of this podcast is to look back at the passage that we covered the Sunday before. So I'm going to read that for us, and then we'll talk about it. So this is Luke chapter 2. In those days, a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration when Quirinius was governor of Syria, and all went to be registered, each to his own town. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, from the town of Nazareth to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed, who was with child. And while they were there, the time came for her to give birth. And she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling cloths, and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn. And in the same region there were shepherds out in a field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And the angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were filled with great fear. And the angel said to them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you good news of great joy, that will be for all the people. For unto you was born this day in the city of David a Savior, who is Christ the Lord. And this will be a sign for you. You will find a baby wrapped in swaddling cloths and lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace among those with whom he is pleased. When the angels went away from them into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, Let us go over to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has made known to us. And they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the baby lying in a manger. And then they saw it. And when they saw it, they made known the saying that had been told them concerning this child. And all who heard it wondered at what the shepherds told them. But Mary treasured up all these things, pondering them in her heart. And the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen, as it had been told them. And at the end of 8 days, when he was circumcised, he was called Jesus, the name given him by the angel before he was conceived in the womb. This is the word of the Lord. I'm tempted to say, and that's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown.
That's right.
Because, again, this is what this is mostly associated with. But Vince, you took kind of a different approach here. I mean, this is still the Christmas passage, it's the birth of Jesus. You took kind of a different approach here. What was that?
Yeah, I tried to. It wasn't actually an effort of me trying to get away from Christmas as much as it was me trying to do this in a way that, let's say there's some alien who's never heard of Christmas. They're reading through this. How does it hit? So I was trying to come at it from that kind of perspective, that this is just a part of what Luke is telling as the story of Jesus. And so how Jesus enters into the reality of humanity. He enters into a world that's already been going. Jesus is not created, but stepped into humanity, into a real political dynamic where there were Roman rulers and census going on and all of that. He stepped into a real natural reality, into humanity, into the way the rules of science. I mean, he stepped into this world, and he also stepped into a social setting that had already been determined by the people who had been living at the time, and shepherds were kind of the outcast of the people. So Jesus came into this world, into a reality that had already been in motion. And I think it's Luke's way of showing us and God's way of bearing the truth that Jesus came to be with us. So anyway, that was the angle I took.
Yeah, I appreciated the kind of the humanization in that way of like, hey, things were going on. I think it says a lot to us and where we are as well, but we can talk more about that a little later. What is there anything from this? Again, I know you've preached several Christmas sermons in the past, and this passage has probably been in there. Is there anything you kind of wish you could have touched on, or any context to add here? The sermon was kind of all about the context which Jesus showed up, so it's a little different. But.
Yeah. I mean, there are little things here and there that stand out to me. I mean, I think because of the way that the gospel writers write, we don't often take into consideration some of the trials that these people must have gone through to travel. I mean, I think back on chapter 1, the middle of chapter 1, verse 56, Mary's with Elizabeth, and it says that she remained with her 3 months and then returned to her home. We just read that like it's no big deal, but returning to her home was a 90-mile journey. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just she walked down the street back to her house. And the same here, Mary and Joseph are traveling from Nazareth to Bethlehem for the census, which is another 90 miles. So I just think we miss some of those things that I could have spent a lot more time on. Just the practical, specific nature of what was going on for these people.
Yeah, I love it. Kirsten, Bethany, what did you guys...
Did you just call her Bethany?
Oh.
I guess I just did. I wasn't trying to do that. Guys, I'm not doing great. Anyway,
you needed a burger.
You're not even on
I really do. I need a burger. We were talking
today.
about... I'm not. I should be. I've got a cold that's like the last 10% is taking a long time to go away. Anyway, Kirsten or Betty, what did you see or notice in this? What stood out to you as we walked through the text yesterday?
Your mom will like that he called you Bethany.
Yeah,
is that
shout
actually
out
your
Mom. Name? It is actually. Did
Whoa,
you not know my name was
No,
Bethany?
I thought it was Elizabeth and Etsy. That's what I'd been calling you.
Her mom,
name.
her mom likes when we call her Bethany.
Oh, that's nice.
So she likes Eric,
and she's a listener.
Okay,
she's our one listener. Hi, Betty's mom, Bethany's mom,
Elizabeth Donette to see.
Anyway,
what
was asking?
What stood out to you guys?
I was going to say that I've never really thought about the implication of like the shepherds being approached first. I think, I don't know, this story was heard so much I heard this story so much from like being in like the Christmas plays at church. And so I don't think a lot about the context and like what's going on. Like, oh yeah, like there's just shepherds in this play. Like, of course there are. But now thinking about it in like the social reality of like, one, shepherds are outcasts, and then two, seeing the faith of the shepherds too, that they aren't questioning or doubting that anything in this message is not true and they need proof to see it, but that they know with confidence that it is true and want to go see for themselves. So I think their faith, one, to just go and leave like immediately the role that they're doing to be able to see this new king who has been born, and then also just their overflow of joy to go share it with others. I think I've overlooked the shepherds in this story a lot. So I think this kind of helped me see it in a new light.
I had this thought yesterday during, I forget if it was the first or second gathering. And sometimes when thoughts come to me while I'm preaching, I really have to restrain myself from saying them immediately. But I had the thought when they left and went into the town to see if that this thing had actually happened, I thought, who'd they leave their sheep with?
Yeah. I kind of wondered that. Are they just out there, or did they like take the sheep with them?
Into town. There's a whole row of sheep walking into town. They're like, hey, you guys wait out here. I just think of Sean the sheep. Like, you all wait out here. We'll be back.
Or the low man on the totem pole just had to stay back and watch all of
Leroy's
them.
back watching the sheep.
Leroy the shepherd. I think the thing that stands out to me is, like you said yesterday, Vince, that Luke wrote to remind those who are far off that through Jesus they've been brought near. And just thinking about the fact that every person in this narrative is kind of low and despised, that there's no one that is lofty or glorious outside of Jesus. And so you've got Mary, who's a no one. You've got Joseph, who's a no one. You've got the shepherds who are cast out and kind of low in the culture. And so just even Jesus's entrance is consistent for who he is and who he came to rescue from the very beginning.
Yeah, which is why I think what Paul says of Jesus in Philippians 2, that he humbled himself. So he humbled himself to come into that world.
Mm-hmm.
As you were wondering about the shepherds, I had the thought of what what was going on between God and Jesus, like the night before Jesus left to go to earth.
Let's do this.
And was it the night before he was conceived? And did Jesus and God interact while Jesus was in the womb? Or I don't know. Those are all the things that were going through my mind.
Yeah, well, in the Greek, no. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah. I love the way that you, I think we can have a view of God being in control or God's sovereignty that is kind of far off, and like, well, things will work out, he'll fix things, whatever. But the way that you drug it down into, actually, no, the political reality that Jesus stepped into was there on purpose, and like that's where God chose to put him, or the natural reality or social reality. Even I think even making some people uncomfortable and saying like, hey, has it occurred to you that the powers that are in control right now are in control underneath God's sovereignty?
Yeah.
And like he is working out his will through broken systems, through these people.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important, and I think it creates some dignity around the way the world works. Like the Lord is choosing to use the way the broken world works in his redemptive purpose. I think that's cool. Yeah,
and I know this is going to way oversimplify this. That's why I think we cannot get so worked up about our fleeting government leaders. They're going to come and go, and God's plans are the ones that stand. Now, I'm not saying therefore they should be of no concern to us or even little concern, but to revolve our world around what's going on politically is in a lot of ways it may show a lack of trust in God.
Yeah, I think it certainly can.
Yeah.
I think if the highest level of change that we can think of to affect is electing certain people,
right?
Which I think outside of a transcendent God, I think it could be like this is what's higher than or the organization of human capital and effort that is government. But I think if we understand God as who he has revealed himself to be and in control, then you're right. We can put it in its proper place.
Right.
And that's powerful.
Yeah.
So, what's God like according to this text?
You were just kind of mentioning this, Rex, but just seeing, well, all of what we were saying really, like seeing God's sovereignty within the text and seeing him as sovereign, as the one who intentionally orchestrates all things. And I mean, we've been seeing that all throughout our time in Luke, like even Zechariah serving in the temple when he did, and Mary ending up with Joseph, who's from the line of David, and then this registration happening to go to Bethlehem, like the prophecy in Micah had stated, like all of these pieces, like we see how God's hand is truly in every single aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing that was coming to my mind too, is just that every detail that had to be worked out, God worked those out, and some of them started hundreds of years beforehand being worked out. And even things about when Mary was pregnant and when she would deliver, and all of those details, God was really intimately involved with each one of those things. And so, I mean, I think that we can see that he carefully orchestrates every detail with intentionality.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really cool to pay attention to how far back those dominoes go too, like what you're talking about. You start looking at stuff all the way back to, I don't know, even like the book of Ruth is about, you know, a Moabitess who's brought into the people of Israel, who marries, you know, Boaz, and her grandson is David. And from there, so it's like all these people being, all we see in the Bible is people being moved around in the real world, in history, for the sake of God's redemptive purpose. And it's crazy how far back that goes.
Well, it goes I mentioned this on Sunday. It goes all the way back to the garden, where the promise to the serpent is, hey, one day there's going to be a woman who gives birth to a son who's going to crush your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is powerful. And even that plan, I mean, that's chapter 3 of the first book of the Bible. That's just an opening of a door that had been planned from eternity past, right? I mean, that's not something God came up with right there.
Yeah.
That was a plan he had. Now that gets us deeper, but anyway.
Yeah.
Well, and that there are some crazy pieces of prophecy, like in Isaiah, where it talks about a virgin, giving birth, and those pieces that seem impossible and seem like so far-fetched, and yet it was so integral in God's plan that he gave prophecy hundreds of years before to say this is what's going to happen, to be looking for this. And so I don't know. I think those pieces are so convincing when you think about the fact that God did prophesy these things through his prophets hundreds of years before it happened, and then they all came to fruition.
I wondered, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday morning, and I wonder how much, how important it was, how encouraging, comforting, important it was for Mary to have heard the angel back in chapter 1 say to her, "For nothing will be impossible with God." I just wonder if that's the sort of the resonating thing in her mind through all of this, even through her travels. I mean, 90 miles from this place to that place, to think, okay, nothing will be impossible with God along the way. That all of this has been put into place, and she is holding on to that truth that nothing will be impossible, that God has set out to do. Yeah. The thing that stands out to me about what God is like, and I've said this, I think, a couple times over the last few weeks, I'm just struck again and again by the God we have who moves toward us no matter, and it's not because of anything we would have to offer, that he moves toward Mary, he moves toward the shepherds, and he doesn't respond. He doesn't first give the information, the news, to Caesar or to Quirinius or any of the more important people, but he gives that announcement to the shepherds, which I just think is what God is like, that he offers the good news and great joy of salvation to those who by faith will receive it.
Well, Vince, your last kind of point here is that the entrance of Jesus demands a response. Yeah. With that in mind, why does this matter, and what should we do with this today? Yeah, I mean, the low-hanging fruit is that Jesus demands a response in our lives day to day. Not just, I think I said this last week, not just at the point of salvation, like you must respond here, but there's a sense in which we have to every day decide, like, how are we going to respond? How are we going to respond to Jesus's demands on our life, on his call on our life, in his words, and his action, on his salvation toward us? Yeah. So, how do we move forward with this?
I think it has to be moving forward in faith. I mean, that was the first thing that you said, was just the shepherds respond in faith, but stepping forward in faith and trusting that God is intimately involved in carefully orchestrating the details of our lives. And so even when things feel really hard or out of control, looking for the places that we can still show reverence and amazement and carefully consider what he might be doing in our lives through the circumstances that we're in, and then allowing that to lead us to praise. I think that regardless of our circumstances, we can be reminded over and over that God is intimately involved in all of those details, even as we consider this passage.
Yeah, I think to kind of build on that, I think it's either an encouragement or a reprimand at times to remember that, like, hey, God is working within your reality where you are. He's working within your political, natural, social reality. And you can trust him there. And so for some people that could be a balm. If it's like, okay, here's a trial, here's something hard, like God is working within that reality. For some people though, it can be easy to say, well, if things were different, it would be easier to XYZ. If things were different, it'd be easier to follow the Lord or do this. If only we had the right person in power, if only we had this thing, if this was the case, it was a different social location. And I think it can be a challenge to remember, okay, no, actually, God put Jesus into this political, natural, social reality. He's in the same for you. He's put you in this point in history for a reason, not to despise it, but to live in it for his glory. So I don't know. That kind of struck me yesterday. I think it can be easy to look back on, well, if things were like they used to be when it comes to either technology, like with social media or whatever, it can be easy to idealize the past, but in reality, I'm where I am for a reason, and God is going to work in that.
What's that verse in Acts that Paul talks about that? Do you know what I'm talking about? You're looking at me confused.
I'm trying to remember that God knows the places, and I think it's Acts 17 where Paul's going through Athens and he talks about that, and he says, for the God who made the heavens and the earth knows our places and the times and places that we live, that he's ordained those things. Acts 17, you can look for it while I answer the question. I mean, the thing that stood out to me about the responses, at least that we see in chapter 2, is I think it's helpful. It was helpful for me when I got to understanding verse 19 that Mary treasured up all these things. So there's sort of an emotional response. I don't mean that negatively. I mean that positively. She had an emotional response to what was going on. She treasured these things. And she pondered them in her heart. She spent time considering the intellectual realities of what was going on too. And I think we can at times often see one or the other, but to bring those together and say, no, God has sent his son, and that ought to do something in me, emotionally, but also intellectually as I know him more and more. I think that for me was a powerful application to the presence of Jesus. Ought to do something in me, stir something in my emotions, but stir something also in my capacity of understanding who he is.
My answer is kind of a blend, I feel like, of everything that has already been said. So it might feel a little bit redundant. But yeah, I think it's easy to look at, I mean, really all of Scripture and see like how we see God's sovereign hand in everything. And then I feel like I separate that from my own life of like, oh, like, but that's not true for me. Like, God isn't orchestrating these things in my life. And like, that's false. Like, he absolutely is. But I think there's always a disconnect for me that like the way God works here isn't true here, and then also speaks to the view I can have of who God is, which is not correct. But I don't know, just I think there was a point that I had for that, but I maybe just remembering that is not true, like that there is no disconnect here. God is consistent in his character, both in what we read here and how he orchestrated these plans and how he is orchestrating things in our life at this specific time. And then I was also thinking about that same verse, Vince. I think it's easy for me to maybe be numb to what I do actually see God doing in life, and not really take the time to ponder and process just his character and the way he's revealing himself, and just how that is so true in life. Like, even, I don't know, I feel like support raising has been a good example. Like, it's been easy to be numb to the realities of God's work and how he's showing his generosity and provision and his kindness to me. And like, even last week, Kirsten got to witness like a really cool support raising moment, like where a stranger approached me like with a desire to support because I talk way too loud in Bindle. But it was really cool.
She was eavesdropping.
Yeah. But it was so cool. But then it was so easy to walk away, like in the moment, like writing that, like, wow, God, like you did that, and this is an expression of your character and your kindness. And then to walk away and not too long later be like, oh, like life is hard, God's not working, or something like that. I don't know, just easy to forget how he does work and move. And I want to be willing to carefully consider how he's at work, not just in my life, but in general.
It's good.
I think too, something that comes to mind right now is that both Mary, before the angel approached her, and the shepherds were both just being faithful in the work that God had given them. They weren't seeking out anything exceptional. They weren't trying to make anything happen. They were just being faithful do whatever tasks they had in front of them. And so I think it's a reminder that we simply need to be faithful with what God has put in front of us, and we don't need to orchestrate anything, that God is going to work those details out. And none of these people in this story did anything to earn the favor of God, or, earn the privilege of being the first one to receive the announcement. Like, that was simply the grace and mercy of the Lord. And so I think we can be confident that we can be faithful with what God has in front of us, and God's going to work in ways that we are not expecting. And also, you were right, it's Acts 17, the verse 17:26, and he made from one man every nation of mankind to live on all the face of the earth, having determined allotted periods in the boundaries of their dwelling place, that they should seek God and perhaps feel their way toward him and find him.
Yeah, God has determined those times. So the time we're living in currently is the determined time that God has given us. It's good.
Yeah, and that's a gift. All right, where are we going next week? Next week, how far are we going next week?
Through verse 40. Okay. So chapter 2, 22 through 40 is what we'll look at.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we encourage you to read ahead, and we will see you on Sunday. Adios.